Hey everybody, it's Dr. Ruan here. Thanks for those of you watching the replay. So thank you for watching the replay. But you can always catch me live if you choose to turn on your notifications on my page. So my name is Dr. Cheng Ruan. I'm a board certified internal medicine physician, and today I want to talk to you about a very sensitive topic that is really near and dear to my heart because I've been through it myself, and that's food addiction. And what food addiction really is a reward-based system for ourselves, and everybody has a reward, okay? And a lot of people say, yeah, I'm an emotional eater. When I get stressed, I tend to eat. When I get bored, I tend to eat. When people say that, part of that is an addiction. It's a food response, and it's a reward response. And so, tell me a little story. So ever since I can remember, I was born in China, and as I grew up in China, I distinctly remember my parents, my grandmother, my whole family. We always had this concept of you never want to waste food. Eat everything on your plate, and then if you're sad, people feed you something. If you're happy, people feed you something. If you're angry, people feed you something, and somehow it becomes that much better, right? Food makes it that much better because all of a sudden you got a reward for something and you're feeling down. And that's a mechanism that's been in my brain, a lot of people's brains, ever since we were younger. And some people use that reward system very strongly, and some people don't. And it's not that there's anything wrong with this; it's just that it's how the reward system was developed. So, as I grew up in China, ate a lot of food. I was the biggest guy in my class, and I'm still big. I'm 6'3" and about 260. I was always the biggest and tallest guy in my class. In my kindergarten class, I was like a head taller than everybody else. I ate like crazy, and I ate all the time. And when I was 7 years old, I moved to the U.S. And then when I moved to the U.S., it was hard at first because we had to assimilate into the American culture. And as I tried to assimilate into the American culture, tried to be like the people who were around me, I realized that sometimes I would get sad, and if I would get sad, I would want something to eat. And being the good parents that my parents are, especially my mom, she's like, yeah, I'm going to fix you something to eat. Don't worry about it. You're going to feel so much better. And then it's usually some sort of noodles. We're from southern China, so we have a fascination with noodles. And so when I eat, I kind of feel better. I feel a little better, right? I feel a little better, and what I feel is that after I eat, that I will have to continue to eat to feel better. And that went on till I was about 14 or 15 years old. From 7 till I was 14 or 15 years old. So I hit 200 pounds, I think, when I was 13 or 14. 13 years old, I was 5'11". 14 years old, I was about 6 foot tall. I hit 200 pounds. Of course, the Asian culture is like, you always have to feed the boy because the boy has to grow. That's sort of the culture. And so I got bigger, not bigger and bigger. And then when I was 13, I learned how to cook. And from 13 to 14, I had a huge explosion in weight. I think I gained about 35 pounds when I was 13 to 14, and only about 1 inch in height, okay? The math isn't right, right? So I learned to cook when I was 13, and I started with ramen. I started with just instant noodles. We didn't have a whole lot of money at that time. We were living in a very small apartment. My parents didn't make a whole lot of money, but ramen was always available because it's something that my mom knows I could cook. So I started eating ramen. And ramen packets are about this big, but when you cook it, it's pretty big. And I would always put 3 packets of ramen. And if you ever cook 3 packets of the old instant ramen, it's a lot of food. It's a lot of food. Even for me today, it's a lot of food. And so I would eat that ramen, And then I realized I craved noodles and I craved carbs because of the fact that as I grew up from when I was China to my early teenage years, I craved these carbohydrates. Okay, and when I crave these carbohydrates, I just want more and more and more. And suddenly, it took me 4 packets of ramen or 5 packets of ramen over one meal for me to eat. And guess what? I would throw up because I would eat so much. I would literally eat so much ramen, I would throw up. I cook the ramen again, and I eat it some more. That's binge eating. Okay, that's binge eating. To me, there was nothing wrong with that because, first of all, I was 13, 14 years old. I didn't think anything was wrong with that. I thought everybody else did it, right? But that's a mechanism of addiction. That's a mechanism of addiction of I'm not hungry, but I'm just gorging. I'll throw up, and I'll gorge, and eat again. And when I was 14, 15 years old, I talked to my friends. It's like, hey guys, I tend to eat a lot, and when we go out, I would eat a bunch. But nobody ate to the point of throwing up. Everybody was able to stop at a certain point. So I became the guy that cleaned everybody else's plate. I ate things from everybody else's plate so that the food wouldn't be wasted. And so that, and for there's a couple of people watching right now who's grown up with me. So they know that during the lunch hour, I eat their lunch if they don't finish. But that makes me feel good about myself. And I still love these carbohydrates, man, these noodles, bread, everything like that. And so it got to a point where my weight was just out of control. My weight was out of control. This is probably around 16 or 17 years old. I was about 240, 250 pounds. No, actually, I was 260, 270 pounds by that time. And I look back and I was like, how did I gain 80 pounds in 3 years, right? I know I'm a teenager, I'm a growing boy, but that's a lot of growth. And when I went to college, it just went downhill. I went to college at Texas A&M. I'm an Aggie. Whoop. And at Texas A&M, I was under my own power, right? I can cook on myself. I could eat when I was with friends, and I start eating. And that mechanism of reward that I had when I was younger, I continued on to college, and I was ate. And by the end of college, I think I was about 285, 295 pounds. Granted, yeah, I did play sports. I was on the rowing team. I did play basketball. I was in the freestanding league. I played football. Great, but still, I was a big guy. Still, I'm a big guy. So, when I went to medical school, this is what's interesting. When I went to medical school, my first semester in medical school, I dropped 55 pounds. I dropped 55 pounds. And thinking back on it, that's crazy. How did I drop 55 pounds? I was 285, and all of a sudden I was 230 3 months later. Now, look back on it, is that when I went to medical school, and I went to the medical school in Ross University, which is in the Caribbean. When I went to medical school, all my triggers for eating disappeared. Okay? When I went to medical school, all my habits, I could start from the very beginning. So right when I got to medical school, I decided, and since I was by the ocean, that I would get up, I would go for a swim, I would go to class, I would study, I would eat, I would work out, I would study, I would eat, I would work out, I would study, I would eat, I would work out. And since the beginning, that was my habit. And so I didn't realize by the time 3 to 4 months later that I lost 55 pounds until I went back and my parents saw me. And then I looked in the mirror and compared to how I look on Facebook in college, I look like a completely different person. I look younger. My skin was better. I looked more vibrant. I was more energetic. And it makes sense. Yeah, I worked out and I ate well, and I have my own habits. That's great. But why such a profound change? So, after I went back my first semester, I came back the second semester, and I dropped more weight, and I became very lean. And I realized there was not a whole lot of triggers in college. There are not a whole lot of triggers in college that trigger me to be healthy, but a whole lot of triggers in college that trigger me to eat bad. I was in a relationship that I was hurt in. I didn't make the greatest grades initially in college. I did later on. I made up for that, so I got into medical school. And I had a lot of stressors that were in my life and all this. And, I drank alcohol, not excessively, but I did drink, and that was a stressor. It caused me to have reflux disease. And when I went to medical school, it was like a detox. Everything was detox. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't eat anything bad. Everything I ate was natural. whatever local produce was. I have fresh fruit, lentils, grilled chicken. I had all these great food, and I realized that if people really wanted to lose weight and people really want to get rid of some addiction, that they will have to somehow manipulate their triggers as well, right? And then that makes sense. And so, ultimately, I moved after the first year of med school. I moved back into the U.S. I moved to Miami, where I did my clinical rotations. And I did all my clinical rotations in the U.S. And I started gaining weight again. So what was it about America that was different from Dominica when I went to the first year of medical school? And the difference is the food quality, the access to processed foods. The difference is the amount that I moved and I exercised. I didn't drive very much over there. I was moving more. I was running. I felt good about myself. And then when I moved back to America, my lifestyle changed. Right? It's always about the lifestyle change. And so, if I wanted to lose weight again, how was it that I was able to mimic what I did in medical school? And I think back to medical school, and I thought, I didn't really have a food addiction response in medical school. I always, for my whole life, I binge eat. I would binge eat, and I would throw up. I would eat some more until medical school. Medical school, I didn't do any of that stuff. My first semester, I didn't do any of that stuff. How was that possible? How is it possible that I got over some addiction and I got over all these things so quickly right when medical school hits? And it's all about triggers. My triggers weren't there, and the reward that I used was very different, because in medical school I was very focused, and I still am focused on the study of medicine, and I was very focused on nourishing my body with food that will allow me to continue to study. I was focused on nourishing my body that allowed me to work out, to do my swims in the morning, to do my lifting at noontime, and do my power lifting at nighttime. I was very, very, very focused on that, and everything that I ate supported those things. And so I realized that in medical school, I was still addicted, but I was not addicted to food. I was addicted to the idea of getting A's on my tests. I was addicted to the idea that I can go to the gym and I can lift. And then when I power lifted, I have friends that were there that really helped me out. And my friends would really encourage me to, hey, lift harder next time. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. And I had goals. So it's not that I wasn't addicted to food, is that my addiction became something completely different. My reward was something completely different. And food is now secondary and not primary. Food is now secondary because it allowed me to be successful, it allowed me to study, it allowed me to go to the gym, allowed me to work out, right? And then when I went back to the US, I didn't have that support structure. I didn't have that structure at all. And there's a lot of stress involved in medical school that during the clinical rotations, and we moved around everywhere into different hospitals, and there's not a support system. And naturally, I started using food as a reward. And this is totally unconscious. This is subconscious, I should say. It's not something I planned. It's just something that happened. So as I struggled again, I gained my weight back. During residency, actually, I gained my weight back. Residency was every person who goes through residency as a physician has some level of stress. I can tell you that. And in residency, I started using food as my reward again, and it's something that I hated myself for. And I started binge eating again. And for those of you who don't know what binge eating is that you will eat because of a trigger, and that trigger allows you to eat, and you will keep eating, and it doesn't matter if you're hungry, it doesn't matter if you're full, you just keep eating, and then you just keep eating for no apparent reason that you can think of, but the subconscious reason is that you had that trigger in the first place. So I had that binge eating phenomenon. So through residency, I gained my weight again. Went through a lot of stress during that time. But I really enjoy residency overall. But once again, there was stressful times during training. And then when I finished residency in 2012 and I became a chief resident in 2013, I really looked at my life and trying to figure out what I want to do. And this was in New York, and so I wanted to move back to Texas. My wife and I wanted to move back to Texas. So when I moved back to Texas, I started my current practice at Medical Colleges of Texas in Katy, Texas. I started that practice, and all of a sudden, things were great. Things were great. Things were, I was very happy in my practice. I love practicing medicine. I love doing primary care. It's the greatest decision I've ever made in my life. I love helping people, and I love talking to people, obviously, because I'm talking to you right now. And I noticed that even when I was happy, I started to eat. So it's not just stressed, and it's not just angry, it's not just sad, it's happiness. When I was happy, I started to eat. I started to use food as a reward too. And then this really bothered me because I'm cognizant of all this, but I cannot control myself. I felt as if I cannot control myself. Until April of 2014. My daughter Annabelle was born. She's 2 years old now. At that time, April 2014, when she was born, one of my cardiologist friends reached out to me. His name's Dr. Emmanuel Moustakakis, by the way, who is in New York. And I'm going to put his page in the description so you guys can check him out too. And he asked if I want to join like a fitness group. I'm like, all right, I'll join your fitness group because my butt's getting fat. I'll join your fitness group. Let's see what it is. So I joined this fitness group, and I realized that I was so out of shape. I was eating my way through life. Once again, so I ate my way through life up until I was a teenager. I ate my way through life through college. I was better in medical school, and I ate my way through life through residency. Now I'm eating my way through life again. And when my daughter was born, I made a promise to her that I would do better. The day that she was born, in the morning, she was a newborn. She was this big. Okay, she was barely 6 pounds, newborn. I told her I was born, when she was born, is that everything I do, I would do for you. And everything that I would do for myself is how I would treat you too, including my health, my fitness, my food. Because I knew it was important. Because I knew that I was a primary care physician, I'm guiding other people to do the same thing. I have to be the healthy person. So going through the fitness group that my cardiologist friend invited me into, Dr. Moustakakis, he showed me the light. Because he was able to lose a significant amount of weight. He lost like half a person the year that I didn't see him. Because he was my friend in New York, and he was in New York, and I was in Houston. And he lost like half a person. I was like, man, you look fantastic. You look absolutely fantastic. What is it that you did? And then I went to do home exercises. I ate really well. And I started losing weight. I started getting toned. I started feeling awesome about myself. I felt absolutely fantastic. But the problem is, I still binge ate. Okay, I lost weight. I got toned. I built this muscle, but I was still binge ate. And it's because I never really dealt with the triggers going through this. I try to overcome it by thinking about other things. I try to overcome my triggers by just setting a workout schedule and working out. I try to overcome my triggers by eating things that I plan to eat. But I never dealt with my triggers. And thinking back on it, it should have been obvious, but it was not. So what were my triggers? Let's talk about what were my triggers that wanted me to binge eat, that really bothered me. So the number one trigger, and everybody says stress. Stress is a trigger, but when you really look down deep in it, what exactly is stress and what trigger caused you to be stressed in the first place? Stress is not a trigger, it's an emotional response to the trigger. So what caused me to be stressed is that I felt like I was an imposter. And a lot of young physicians go through this. It's called imposter syndrome. You feel like an imposter because I'm young. How old was I? I guess I was 31 at the time, and I'm seeing patients And how is it that I'm able to see patients who are much older than me and give them advice? And you feel, and that little tinge of imposter syndrome, even though I know I'm doing what's the best for them, it caused me a lot of stress, and I go through that every day, and I went through that every day. So that caused me stress. What also caused me stress is my family. If my daughter gets sick, if she looks at me a certain way, if I come home and she wants mommy and she doesn't want daddy, that caused me a lot of stress. You know, I really love my daughters. You know, my family caused me a certain amount of stress. I have financial stress. Coming out of residency, my wife and I were close to $700,000 in debt. Okay, that's a lot. So financial stress and going through all these different things, and I was able to pinpoint what my triggers were, but I was also able to know how I should respond to my triggers. So I decided that through the help of my cardiology friend, Emmanuel Moustakakis, and he told me something that I've done ever since he told me, is that the first 5 to 10 minutes of every day, read something that inspires you, learn something that you always wanted to learn and be positive. And then that is the number one best advice I've ever gotten in my life. So I started reading books that motivated me. I started listening to audiobooks that motivated me, that excited me. I started learning things that I've never learned before. And I started teaching other people how to do the same thing. So a lot of people call that coaching. So I consider myself a coach. And so having that 5 to 10 minutes of just positivity every morning changed my whole life. Okay? That 5 or 10 minutes of positivity every morning allowed me to mold my mindset throughout the day so that my response to my triggers is not stress. My response to my trigger is that I'm going to overcome it in one way or another. And it didn't stress me out. And if it didn't stress me out, I didn't feel like I had to eat. And I stopped binge eating the day I started using that technique. Right? I stopped binge eating. I stopped having the feeling that I had to eat to almost throw up the day that I started to have 5 minutes or 10 minutes of positivity every single morning. So that could be in the form of reading a book, that could be in the form of an audiobook, that can be in the form of doing 100 push-ups, that could be in the form of doing yoga, because those were positive to me. Those were some stuff that really spoke to me. And so as I started doing that, I realized that mindset allowed me to be a better father, better husband, better physician, and better friend to a lot of people. And I realized that I can accomplish a lot of what I wanted to do. All I needed was that positivity in my life. And then when you become a positive person, and then when you become that positive person that is able to affect other people being positive, we call it the law of attraction. Positive attracts positive in the law of attraction. Then all of a sudden you're surrounded by people who are just as positive as you are. And when you're surrounded by people that are just as positive as you are, all of a sudden everybody is happy. And I became happy. I mean, I thought I was happy before, but I became very happy. And I felt like I had a gift to the world. I have a gift of positivity to the world. And I wanted to spread that. And that's where this particular Facebook site began. It began as me giving positivity to the world in 2014. And now it's 2016, and I'm telling you this story of how this Facebook site began. My Dr. Cheng Ruan page began in 2014 because I found positivity. I found that starting my day with positivity allowed me to accomplish so much, and I have a lot of this to thank for, all of this to thank for, by Dr. Emmanuel Moustakakis, who is a fantastic cardiologist in New York, who's actually originally from Katy, Texas, where I currently practice right now. And so going through all that and realizing that that small amount of positivity, just a few minutes every day, changed my entire mindset, I wonder what else I could do. What if I had 15 minutes of positivity? What if I have 30 minutes of positivity in the day? Okay? So I started doing that. I have a 30-minute drive to work every morning, so I listen to audiobooks on my phone of things that make me feel good, some motivations, Tim Robbins, for example. I started learning about financial stuff so I can master my loan payback. I started learning about real estate and because I wanted to buy a house. And all these things are things I always wanted to learn. And because I'm learning it, it makes me a positive person. So positivity is not just about motivational books. It's about learning what you always wanted to learn. If you want to play guitar, then spend 5 minutes a day learning the guitar chords. That's a positive thought. If you want to sing, spend 5 minutes a day singing. I sing in the shower. I'm not afraid of it, right? And basically, positivity equals empowerment. Positivity equals empowerment. I was empowered. I was empowered to learn more about myself. I was empowered to do these things. And I stopped binge eating. And I never in my life would I thought I would stop binge eating again. Okay? And this is relatively emotional for me to talk about, but I want to share this with you guys because this is how this Facebook page came to be. So, but once in a while, I will have a tinge. If I was stressed, I will have a tinge to binge eat. And how I deal with that is that if I was stressed about something, I would immediately want to know something positive. I would even want to consume something positive. I would take a step back. Yes, I'm stressed, but then allow me to learn something that I've always wanted to learn. I learn what I need to learn, and then I'm good. And I'm good for like the next 24 hours, right? And then when my daughter got old enough to speak and be interactive, if I feel bad about something, I just get her on the phone because my parents are taking care of her in the afternoons before I get home from work. And then I don't know what she's saying because she's only 2 and she kind of babbles random things, but her voice allows me positive, and I just smile every time I hear her. And these are things that are positive, and this is brain training. I really train myself to think this way. And one of the books that I read that really helped me out is a book called Making and Breaking Habits. Okay, I'm going to include the book link into here. So Making and Breaking Habits. So it's a fabulous book. It's not too long to read. There's an audiobook version because I listened to the audiobook. But Making and Breaking Habits really dive deep into how your brain works when it comes to habits. There's a dopamine release that's in the brain that allows you to have this addiction response that's very similar to drug addictions with food. And it made me really understand the biochemical pathway of what's going on in my brain. You figure they teach this in medical school, but they don't. So not only am I analyzing myself, I'm also helping my patients do the same thing. A lot of my patients have food addiction. I would say a majority of my patients have some sort of food addiction. But I'm able to help them. I'm able to motivate them, empower them. And that's exactly what this video is all about, right? At the end of the day, this video is all about empowerment. It's me talking to you and you knowing that I went through this and you knowing that a lot of people go through this. When I started talking to my patients, I realized how many people go through the same things I did. And there's a lot of people that go through the same thing I did, but nobody really talked about it. It was taboo, okay? It was almost shameful. And I want you to understand there's nothing shameful about this. A lot of people go through it. Don't be ashamed. Embrace it, okay? And so if you're able to embrace something that it's negative about you, and if you do something about it, and that become a positive thing. So when I talk to you about food addiction, even though I thought it was a negative thing about me, I'm turning into a positive thing because I can speak to you very clearly about it because I've been through the same thing. That allows a negative thing to be positive, and I truly believe in that. Right? And I'm still going through the struggles. You know, when you have food addiction, it doesn't really necessarily go away. But something that I learned is reward replacement, right? And I talked to you earlier about when I was in medical school, I replaced my reward working out and studying hard because I enjoyed doing those things. And when I got out of medical school, it became food again. But now, what is my reward? What is my reward is this right here. Me talking to you. This is my reward. I had a really rough day. It was a little bit stressful, but now I'm talking to you and I feel elated. I feel that positivity just rise up in me and I can reverberate to you. This is my reward replacement. I'm not binge eating. I have water, I have some chia seeds here, and I have some hemp seeds over here that I'm down, but this is my reward. And when I finish talking about this, you guys, I'm gonna eat a very healthy dinner. I already planned out my dinner. All right, that's basically some stir-fried onions and cabbage with some chia seeds, hemp seeds, and sesame seeds. I mean, I already know what I'm gonna eat. And after I eat, I'm gonna feel real good about myself. And after I eat, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes. I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna feel even better about myself. By the time I get to bed, I'm gonna feel very relaxed and I feel very productive. And the weight and the burden of the day is no longer on my shoulder, right? And this takes a lot of training. This takes a lot of thought. This takes a lot of energy in the very beginning. But afterwards, after a while, this is habitual, you know? You can form good habits and you can form bad habits. And I choose to form good habits. And that is the one thing that I really learned from that 5 to 10 minutes of positivity every single morning. And I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. Dealing with food addiction is not easy by any means. Dealing with food addiction and binge eating and eating for no apparent reason, eating when you're full, eating when you get home from work and stressed, it doesn't make any sense until you really look at it and identify what your actual triggers are. And don't use stress as a trigger because that's an emotion. Okay? Find the trigger that caused you to be stressed. Find the trigger that caused you to have a negative emotion that makes you seek some sort of reward. And think about that trigger and see if you can alter your reaction towards that trigger. Okay? And I use this example over and over again. I'm going to use it again. If you get up in the morning, you go from point A to point B, meaning that you go from home to work, and when you get to work, I ask you how many stoplights you stopped at, and you're like, I don't know, I just woke up and I ended up in work. It's because your brain made those stoplights into a habit. You don't really count the number of stoplights, right? But what if there was a police officer pointing their radar gun at you at every single stoplight? Then you're like, oh, I went past 3 stoplights because I had 3 cops pointing their radar guns at me, right? Because those stoplights, instead of being habits, they're tied to something negative, a negative emotion for those habits. And so the next time I drive to work, I may not go through those stoplights. I may go through the neighborhood streets. So that's me diverting myself away from the bad habits and the bad triggers. And you have to do that cognitively. You have to understand that you have the ability to bypass those stoplights, bypass those police officers pointing the radar gun at you. But to do that, you have to surface your habits. So, thanks for listening to me. I know I'm blabbering on, but I'm going to answer some questions that you guys have live. Let's go with Yvette. Yvette, what's up? I go through it every day. I have candy and soda addiction issues. The struggle is real. I do good for a few days, and then bad for a few days, and good for a few days. I swear they put cocaine in that stuff, right? Okay, believe it or not, a lot of the candy and the soda, especially diet soda, are much more addictive than cocaine. And this is shown. This has been proven that a lot of processed sugars and even artificial sugars are far more addictive than controlled substances. And so it's not cocaine that they put in that stuff. It's the sugars, it's the processed sugars, and maybe even sugar substitutes they put in that stuff, which is far more addictive than cocaine. And I used this example 2 days ago, saying that they did a study where they looked at mice that they fed cocaine to, and then mice became addicted to cocaine. And then they give it a choice of a cocaine and a sugar substitute of a mouse that's already addicted to cocaine, but the mouse goes to the sugar substitute every single time. Isn't that crazy? And not only that, when it goes to the sugar substitute every time, they eat a whole lot more calories throughout the day. And so candy and soda addictions are very dangerous because they're pure sugar, right? When you eat candy and when you drink soda, it causes a response to your body. It causes that dopamine, Dope is dopamine. It causes that dopamine to rise up in that part of the brain, stimulates that part of the brain for this addiction response. And next time it requires more candy. Next time it requires more soda for you to have that same level of high. And so, if you are going through these addiction issues, think about substitutes, okay? And think about what triggers you. What time of day do you have candy and soda addictions? What time? When is it that you crave these things? Is it a certain time of day? Is it when something happens? Is that end of work? Is it when you just have a chance to relax? Or what is the actual trigger? And when you think about the trigger, Yvette's in the afternoons. Okay, so what is it about the afternoon that triggers to make you want to have these? A lot of times, as people work in the mornings and the afternoon, they have some downtime, and because all that stress of work is in the morning, they can breathe a sigh of relief in the afternoon. You're like, oh crap, I want some reward right now. I want to reward myself because I went through all that bad stuff in the morning. But what happens? What happens when you reward yourself in the afternoon is that when you put that piece of candy, when you put the soda into your mouth, it triggers that addiction response, and you become so dependent on that, and you just crave it for reward over and over again. It's a chemical dependence, okay? And when you have a chemical dependence, you can have a psychological dependence. And when you have a psychological dependence, that means that you have to work on it. So you can't change the fact that in the afternoon, the time is there and the trigger may be your time in the afternoon. But we can change your emotional response to it. So in the afternoon, instead of me wanting candy and soda, what am I going to do instead? Instead of me wanting soda, I'm going to bring a carafe or jug of lemon and lime and orange infused water, so it has a nice citrusy flavor. Take off the rinds because the rinds make it bitter. And that water with ice, when I drink it, it's going to make me feel good about myself. And you can replace your soda addiction with citrus infused water. Okay? That's one example. What about the candy? Well, why is it that you have a candy addiction? Is it because you're hungry or do you just want candy? If you're hungry, you got to make sure you eat throughout the day, protein load throughout the day, so you know that you're not hungry. And when you know that you're not hungry and you want candy, then you can cognitively understand that I'm not hungry, I just want candy because I'm addicted to it. And when you can recognize that and put that negative association with the addiction, then you can say, hey, instead of candy, I'm going to replace my reward with, like I said before, with lemon or lime infused water, or I can replace my reward with celery sticks with peanut butter and stuff like that. So I mean, Yvette, I mean, this is just some of the things that I recommend for you, but honestly, it really requires you to understand what the triggers are. And I know you say you work crazy hours. Listen, I work crazy hours too, trust me. But I had to, so I'll give you myself an example. So when I first started working in the hospital, I park in the physician's parking lot. Next to the physician's parking lot is the physician's lounge. In the physician's lounge is free ice cream, free cookies, free chips, and all the bad stuff. On one side, on the other side, there's fruits, there's bananas, there's apples, there's all this healthy stuff that's on the other side. But the fruits are always stocked, and all the cookies and everything's always empty, because a lot of physicians just grab that cookie and go. And I had that same problem. So, instead of me parking in that lot where I go next to the physician's lounge, I just go directly to the elevator another way to bypass that trigger, and I don't miss it. But that was me. When I first started the practice 3 years ago. Just so you know, now I have a very different diet. I'm pretty much gluten-free. I have a very low-carb diet, a lot of high in proteins and fats because they support my workout and help me with fat loss. So now it's a different scenario, but before then, I had to divert away from my trigger just by walking a different route, And so I'm glad you mentioned that. Vivian Winter. Hey, Tootie. Vivian is Tootie. We call her Tootie. Tootie is one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. She used to work for Medical Colleagues, is who I work for, and in the checkout counter for many years. And Tootie is one of the funniest and greatest human beings that I have ever met. She's wonderful. Now she's retired, and I hope you're enjoying retirement. It was good seeing you the other day, Tootie. Let me look at some of the other. Tim, are you still watching? Tim is my choir buddy from high school. Hey Anna, I'm glad you enjoyed this tip. Myra Sanchez, you gonna try this too? I'm glad. I assume you're talking about when you say you're trying this. I assume you're talking about having 5 minutes or 10 minutes of positivity every morning, right? Deb, hey Deb, I help tons of people. I hope I help tons of people, and I wish I can help more. Deborah, you asked me if I was around other people who focus on natural eating. I think this is when I talked about me being in med school. Me being in med school, I actually was not around a whole lot of people who focus on natural eating. That really was my thing. My mom always taught me that when I was growing up. I didn't really learn it till much later, the importance of it. Um, and oh, Jeff was here too. Jeff? Are you still here, Jeff? I hope you're still here. Jeff is a wonderful person. And so, um, I'm certainly able to take any questions. If you have any questions, just put it out there. And but this struggle is real, guys. The struggle is real. I went through this. A lot of my patients go through this currently. And just to tell you another story, I had someone come in not too long ago, and he told me he's diabetic, and he told me, Doc, I just can't let go. I cannot let go of pasta. I'm Italian. I love my pasta, and I just don't want to let go. I was like, well, why is it that you don't want to let go of something that you know is not going to be good for you? And he's like, Doc, because I'm addicted. I know I'm addicted. I don't want to do pasta. Look, I'll eliminate sweets. I don't even eat sweets, but I want to eat pasta. And I was like, well, let's look at what pasta actually does, right? So pasta is a flour-based substance, and makes him tired. It makes his blood sugar spike. It makes him gain weight. It makes his diabetes much worse. So I'm like, why is it that you want that pasta? Like, let's go back to it. And I asked him, when was the very first time you had pasta? When was the very, very first time that you can remember when you were a kid having pasta? And he started laughing. He's like, Doc, I remember exactly the first time I had pasta. I was probably about 2 years old, which stunned me because I don't remember anything when I'm 2 years old. He's like, I was probably about 2 years old, and I remember I wanted attention, and my mom or somebody gave me pasta, and every time I slurp it up into my mouth, the other people would laugh. All right, I'm like, man, that's a very vivid memory. It's like, but understand that that is an beginning of an addiction response. And the beginning of addiction response, going back all that time, thinking about his mom or his whoever feeding him pasta, and him wanting other people to be happy, and he's not a police officer, so he definitely wants to help people, and he's like he's addicted to making other people feel happy, and the very first connection of him doing that is with pasta, right? So we talked about that trigger for a second. I was like, let's go back to there. That was your addiction response. You want other people to be happy, so you ate pasta. And he's like, Doc, that's a little far-fetched. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this. How often do you eat pasta? He's like, Doc, I eat pasta every day. I was like, well, do you eat it by yourself? Do you eat it with other people? She's like, nah, Doc, by myself. I eat a sandwich. But if I'm around other people, we're having a good laugh, I'm gonna cook some pasta. I'm gonna cook some spaghetti. I'm gonna cook some fettuccine alfredo. I was like, so you're around other people, and you want to eat pasta, but you're by yourself. You don't necessarily want to. So are you addicted to the food, or are you addicted to the idea that when you cook pasta, it brings family and friends together, and you're able to feed them, you're able to make them feel happy? He thought about it for a second. I was like, Doc, I think you're right. I just want other people to be happy around me. I feed them pasta. They like my pasta. What can I say? I was like, yes, they like your pasta, but right now, what your pasta is doing for you is not very good. And if you want to get off medications, if you want to be undiabetic, then pasta has to go. Your pasta has to go. A lot of other things has to go that he was eating, his ice cream and everything like that. and so, believe it or not, he let pasta go. He let pasta go for a full 60 days. He came back to me in 60 days, gave me his blood sugar chart. He's like, Doc, I quit pasta. And he talks exactly. He's like, Doc, I quit pasta. Are you proud of me? I'm like, I'm very proud of you. He's like, how were you able to quit pasta over the last 2 months when the last visit you told me adamantly that I do not want to give up pasta? And he said, truthfully, it wasn't the pasta that I was addicted to. It was the gatherings, it was the friends, it was the social environment. Making other people happy made me feel happy. And so I'm like, so that's it. So that's it. You link that association with a food item, right? And so, have you replaced pasta with anything else? And then he said beer. I'm like, oh no. He's like, just kidding, doc. Not really beer. What he did is that he started using spaghetti squash, is what I recommend him to do. And a lot of his family members never had spaghetti squash before, but it's actually delicious. So he started using spaghetti squash and cooking grass-fed meatballs with it on top. I gave him my recipe actually that I posted on Facebook not too long ago. Give him that recipe, and he put some cheese on top, marinara sauce, and it looks like a bowl of spaghetti. And he was able to share that around, and because lo and behold, a lot of his friends and his family were also diabetic. They were enjoying the spaghetti squash as well, and everybody started thanking him for making them feel better for his spaghetti squash and not for his spaghetti, right? And I thought, okay, wow, that's a huge reward replacement. You just replaced spaghetti squash as a reward for pasta that you've had since you were 2 years old and that first memory. And he's like, yeah, doc, and it was really easy. It was really easy because we pointed that out. We really truly understand our behaviors and how it originated. We really truly understand what stemmed from the emotion of the initial addicting response. And so, let's see how he does. You know, his blood sugar is really good. I took him off of 2 of his 3 blood pressure medicines, and I took him off his diabetes medicines completely not too long ago. I think maybe a week or 2 ago. Let's see how he does. Let's see how he does. I have a lot of faith in him. He's on my diet. And if you guys have no idea what my diet is, I have something called the Layers of Living Success Type 2 Diabetes Reversal Plan. That's found on my website, ruanmd.com, ruanmd.com. If you click on diabetes, it tells you all about the program. And it's free download. It's free. I don't make money off of this. Just go ahead and download it. There's no risk, right? And so he got on my eating plan, and we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does. But I never would have had this conversation with him if I didn't explore my own battles with food addiction. I never would have had this conversation with him if my friend Emmanuel Moustakakis, the cardiologist, did not invite me into his fitness group and told me that what I should be doing every day is 5 minutes of being positive every morning. I would not have helped him if I didn't really dig deep into his past, thinking and helping him tease out the emotion behind all of this. I will not be here talking to you, and I really hope you enjoy what I say, and please share this if you do on your Facebook feed. I will not be here talking to you if I didn't go through that process as well. So, anyways, I've talked long enough, but I want to thank all of you for listening to my very, very profound story and my journey and my story, and really, I really, truly appreciate that. On a closing note, this Facebook page just hit 10,000 likes, which means that I have 10,000 people that actually follow me, which is blowing my mind right now. And out of those people, and I have even more views on my videos. I have about 30,000 views a week on my videos just on Facebook alone. That does not even include YouTube. This video will be on YouTube actually also, and it's really empowers me to help more people. That I know that I'm reaching so many people. And I really want to thank you for being here. I really want to thank you for viewing and watching this and supporting me, because that's truly what I value and appreciate. And this is just as therapeutic for me as it is maybe for you. So thanks a lot for watching. I will talk to you guys later.